My own son emptied my retirement account. $347,000 gone. And before you start thinking what everyone thinks, that he's a monster, that I should have seen it coming, that this could never happen to you, let me stop you right there. Because that's exactly what I thought about other people's stories. Right up until the morning I logged into my bank account and saw a balance of $812. I need you to understand something before I go any further. My son wasn't a drug addict. He wasn't a criminal. He had a good job, a wife, 2 kids. We had Sunday dinners together. He called me every week. I would have trusted him with my life. I did trust him with my life. That was the problem. Let me take you back 6 years. My wife, Carol, had just passed away. Lung cancer. Never smoked a day in her life. She was gone in 7 months from diagnosis to death, and I was lost. Completely, utterly lost. We'd been married for 46 years. She handled everything, the bills, the paperwork, the planning. I thought I was a competent man. I'd run a small business for 30 years, but when it came to our personal finances, I'd let Carol manage it all. And suddenly she was gone, and I was drowning in documents I didn't understand. My son David came over one evening about a month after the funeral. I was sitting at the kitchen table with papers spread everywhere. Bank statements, investment accounts, insurance forms. I was overwhelmed, and I probably looked it. David sat down across from me and said, "Dad, let me help you with this. You shouldn't have to deal with all this alone." And you know what I felt? Relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. Someone was going to help me make sense of this mess. Someone I trusted completely. My own son. So when he suggested putting his name on my accounts, just to make things easier, Dad, so I can help you manage everything, it seemed like the most natural thing in the world. We went to the bank together. I signed the papers. Joint account holder. Full access. The bank representative asked me a few times, "Are you sure about this, Mr. Chin? Do you understand what this means?" And I remember feeling almost insulted. Of course I understood. This was my son. Did she think I didn't trust my own child? For the first year, everything was fine. Better than fine. David would call me every month, go over the statements, explain what was happening with the investments. He helped me understand things Carol had handled. He made me feel like I had some control back. I felt grateful. Lucky to have such a devoted son. Then, slowly, things started to change. Small things at first. David would mention business problems. Nothing serious, just cash flow issues. His company was going through a restructuring. There might be layoffs. He was worried about providing for his family. As his father, I wanted to help. I offered him some money. He refused, said he'd figure it out. I respected that, thought it showed character. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that he'd already started helping himself. Small transfers at first. 5,000 here, 3,000 there. Amounts small enough that they wouldn't alarm me when I glanced at the statements. And when I did notice and asked about them, he always had an explanation. "That was the property tax payment, Dad. That was the insurance premium. That was the investment reallocation we talked about." I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He was my son. The withdrawals got bigger. 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. And by this point, David had gotten sophisticated. He'd started having the statements sent to his address to make it easier to go over them together. Except we went over them together, less and less. He was busy Work was demanding. The kids had activities. We'd get to it next month. I trusted him. I didn't push. I found out on a Tuesday morning. I'd gone to the bank to withdraw some cash, and the ATM said insufficient funds. I thought it was a mistake. Went inside, asked them to check. The teller looked at her screen, looked at me, and called over the manager. That's when I knew something was very wrong. The manager took me into her office. She pulled up my account, and I watched the color drain from her face as she scrolled through months of transactions, large withdrawals, transfers. My retirement account, the one Carol and I had built over 4 decades of careful saving, was almost empty. I couldn't breathe, literally couldn't catch my breath. The manager asked if I was okay, if she should call someone. I asked her to show me where the money went. She hesitated, then turned the screen toward me. Every transaction had been authorized by the joint account holder, David, my son. Over 18 months, he'd systematically emptied the account. I drove to his house. I don't remember the drive. I just remember standing on his front porch, ringing the doorbell, my whole body shaking. His wife answered. Took one look at my face and called for David. When he came to the door, he knew. I could see it. He knew exactly why I was there. We sat in his living room. His wife took the kids upstairs, and David told me everything. The business problems were worse than he'd said. He'd made bad investments trying to fix them. Lost money, borrowed more, got deeper into debt. He thought he could pay it back before I noticed. He thought he could fix it. He kept thinking the next deal would work out, and then he'd return everything, and I'd never have to know. But the deals didn't work out. They never do. And now my money was gone. $347,000. My entire retirement. Everything Carol and I had saved to see us through our final years. Gone. Gambled away by my own son on failing business ventures. I asked him the only question that mattered. Why didn't you just ask me? And you know what he said? He said he couldn't bear to disappoint me. Couldn't bear to admit he'd failed. Thought he could fix it himself. The same pride that made him refuse my help in the beginning had led him to steal from me in the end. Here's what nobody tells you about this kind of betrayal. It's not just about the money. I mean, yes, the money is catastrophic. At 72, I can't rebuild that. I can't work another 40 years. That security's gone forever. But the money is almost secondary to what else gets destroyed. Trust, family, your sense of reality. Because if you can't trust your own child, who can you trust? If the person you'd trust with your life would steal your life savings, what does that say about your judgment? About your relationship? About everything you thought you knew? David offered to pay it back. He's been trying for 6 years now. He sends me checks every month, $2,000, sometimes 3 if he can manage it. At that rate, if we both live long enough and he never misses a payment, I might get half of it back by the time I'm 95. Maybe. But we both know that's not going to happen. The money is gone, and our relationship, that's gone too. I see him at holidays, family gatherings. His kids, my grandchildren, don't understand why Grandpa isn't around as much anymore. How do you explain to a 10-year-old that their father stole your future? You don't. You smile. You give them hugs. You pretend everything's okay. But it's not okay. It will never be okay. I had to go back to work at 72. I'm a cashier at a hardware store now, 4 days a week. The job I thought I'd left behind forever, I'm doing it again, watching people younger than my grandchildren be my supervisors. I sold the house, the one Carol and I bought 43 years ago, where we raised our children, where we thought I'd live out my remaining years. I rent a one-bedroom apartment now. I eat cheap food. I don't go on the trips Carol and I planned. I don't help my grandchildren with college like I'd promised. I just work and save what little I can and try not to think about how different this was supposed to be. You're probably wondering why I'm telling you this. You might think I'm trying to warn you about trusting your children. That's not it. Not exactly. Because here's the thing. Most children won't steal from their parents. Most people are trustworthy. David wasn't evil. He was desperate and prideful and foolish. He made terrible choices. But he's not a monster. The lesson isn't don't trust anyone. The lesson is this: keep your emotions and your financial documents separate. Always. I love my son. I still love my son, even though I can barely look at him. But love, even parental love, the strongest love there is, should never mean giving someone unrestricted access to your financial life. Not your children, not your siblings, not your best friend, not anyone. Because the problem isn't that people are untrustworthy. The problem is that circumstances change. People get desperate. They make bad decisions. They convince themselves it's temporary, that they'll fix it, that no one needs to know. And by the time you find out, it's too late. If someone you love needs help with your finances, there are ways to do it that don't involve joint accounts, power of attorney with restrictions, financial advisors you both meet with, regular reviews with independent oversight. But full access to everything, that's not help. That's risk you don't need to take. And if someone pressures you, even gently, even with the best intentions, to add them to your accounts, to give them full access, to make things easier, I'm begging you, don't. Not because they're bad people, but because you're putting both of you in an impossible situation. You're giving them access to temptation that might destroy them and devastate you. Carol used to say I was too trusting. She'd tease me about it, say I'd believe anything anyone told me, I'd laugh it off, say trust was a virtue. That cynicism was poison, and I still believe that, actually. Trust is important. Relationships matter. But trust doesn't mean being naive. Trust doesn't mean failing to protect yourself. And trust certainly doesn't mean handing over complete control of your financial future to someone else, no matter how much you love them. I think about all the warning signs I missed, or didn't miss, but explained away. David's increasing vagueness about the accounts, his reluctance to go over statements together, the way he changed the subject when I asked questions, the way he started avoiding my calls. I saw all of it. But I loved him, so I made excuses. I trusted him, so I didn't push. And that cost me everything. I'm 72 years old. I work 40 hours a week at a job that exhausts me. I live in a place I don't call home. I eat dinner alone every night. And I did this to myself. Not because I was stupid, not because I was careless, but because I confused love with financial wisdom. Because I thought being a good father meant absolute trust without boundaries. Because I didn't understand that protecting yourself isn't the same as doubting someone. If you're young, listen to me. Never put anyone on your accounts unless they're your spouse, and even then, understand the risks. If you're older and someone is pressuring you to give them access to your finances, even someone you love, even someone who seems trustworthy, please, please be careful. Get independent advice. Talk to a lawyer. Talk to a financial advisor. Talk to someone who has no emotional stake in the situation. And if you're the adult child of aging parents and you're genuinely trying to help, here's what I wish David had done. Help them find professional assistance. Go to meetings with them and their financial advisor. Review statements together, but don't control the accounts. Offer support without taking over. Because the moment you have full access, everything changes. The temptation is there, even if you never think you'd use it. And if circumstances get desperate enough, you might surprise yourself. I don't know how much time I have left. My father died at 77. If I follow his timeline, I've got 5 years. 5 years of working, saving scraps, living small. Carol and I planned to travel. We had a list of places we wanted to see before we were too old. Ireland, where her grandparents were from. The Grand Canyon, Alaska. We were going to take our grandchildren on trips, create memories, leave them something. Instead, I'll leave them nothing but a cautionary tale. This isn't the video I wanted to make. It's humiliating, admitting this. Admitting I was foolish enough to lose everything. That my own son betrayed me. That I'm 72 and working retail because I trusted the wrong person with the wrong thing. But if telling you this story saves even one person from making the same mistake, then maybe my humiliation has a purpose. Love your family. Trust them with your heart. But protect your financial future like it's separate from that love. Because it is. It has to be. That's not cynicism, that's survival. If this story made you think, if it made you uncomfortable, good. That means you're paying attention. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe if you want to hear more honest stories from people who've lived long enough to learn hard lessons.